Hello my friends, and as you know I do Taroscopes like on the shift between the signs. So 23rd it's marking from Leo to Virgo. So before I start for all the signs, I just want to wish Virgos happy birthdays and also give you a really quick intro of what's going to consist in this. Just quickly before I start, I really want to thank to everybody for your patience last month. My dad is still at a hospital. He is going to be released this week, which most likely is going to be even more work for me. And so I really ask for your patience this month as well. It looks like next month I should have the new schedule packed down, so it's going to be easier. So without further ado, let me tell you how the reading is going to happen this month. I'm going to do pretty much what I did the last time, last month, but with a twist. We're going to start with a high-level messages from the top down, how the karma is looking at it, what is basically a big picture for you, what are the big messages. This is really important. This is like really teaching you how to fish instead of just giving you the fish. Then I am actually going to move into the tarot part of the reading. So we are going to do the double Celtic cross with the Rain Virtue cards and with my special cat cards. And we're going to see certainly spiritual kind of messages and kind of like what's going around, etc. That's kind of like level down from the top of the mountain. Then we are going to go even lower and we're going to get a little bit of a general reading to see what is happening. And Lenormand is really good tool to kind of like even give timelines. And then we are going to go down and dirty. We are going to use gypsy and we're going to feel and see all these people around us. And this time I'm going to add a twist and to kind of like really culminate this. At some point in this reading, and I'm not going to tell you when, I'm going to include a question that you can ask yourself. So literally you can pause and ask yourself a question and I'll give you the answer, and you'll be able to choose one of the three options, so that way you would really know that answer is catered for you. So there you go. It's a little bit of interactivity. So let me start. Hi Taurus, you have a visitor. We are trying to debate if she's going to let us do the reading. What do you say, Sophie, huh? How about I do the Taurus monthly? They've been waiting for such a long time. Huh? Is that okay? Thank you so much. Thank you, you're so sweet. See, isn't that nice? Right, Taurus, again. It's been a long delay and I realize I cannot do this long Taroscopes for several reasons. One, it takes enormous amount of energy from me and it affects basically it affects a number of things, mostly time management. And the worst part was really getting lots of negative and scorning comments. And I get it, right? When you commit to something, kind of like just deliver it, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. I heard a lot of that attitude this month. And so I've decided that these readings will be available in its entirety on Vimeo for, I don't know, for a fee. It's not going to cost like, I mean, more than a couple of bucks, but at least that, you know, that there is a kind of some commitment on your end as well, because an hour-long reading with me ranges anything from $130 to $260. So also I want to stress these are general readings, and if I do them on Vimeo, not everybody will be joining in, and they're going to be really actually more specific and they'll vibrate much better. So this is going to be the last round because it's just not possible to kind of deliver it this way, but I'm going to continue with my bi-weeklies over here for sure. And maybe I'm going to have a little bit snippets of the monthlies, so you kind of like get a feeling if you really want to check it or don't want to check it and where to go from there. So Taurus, what's going on? So this is basically going September, early October, because I'm already doing a month. So we have childhood, we have dawn, we have lots of sun on my table as well. So kind of try to see how we can build a barrier that you can say it doesn't work. That's what happens when you sit in the south window. So obviously both of them are talking about something in the beginning. It's talking about, here, let me bring it to you in non-sunny kind of area so you can see the cards. So childhood is basically talking about the innocence that we all experienced at one point, where we just kind of like didn't have been burdened with a whole bunch of issues that are going to be that we are going to get settled as adults. We love this card because you see these like sunny rays and they kind of almost like fall from heavens, right, upon these children, right? And there's a kind of like little spotlight on both of them over here. And as you can see, the little girl, she's actually reaching out to the bright beams. And this is something that to me displays something like this really idyllic, right? It's things cannot go wrong. Your problems actually don't pretty much exist. But we have the other elements. We have the lush meadow, we have a small pond, which kind of talks about, I don't know, we have the valley, distant valley, but I don't know if you can see, we also have a clouds and even a thunderstorms over here. So this is kind of like a display of light, and this is like what will be happening in the distance. We'll have to weather the storms of basically life, right? And so when children explore the world, it is inevitable that at some point they're going to lose that original innocence, right? We all have that crashing moment, and we kind of like remember it well into the adulthood. Sometimes we kind of interpret it as something different, but generally this is the starting point that happens. We kind of like don't live at that stage in anticipation of such an event. That's why when it happens, it's always that kind of like tower moment, because it kind of shapes us. It takes us to a different level. It makes us understand to be adults and how to work toward that, right? So it teaches us that innocence is not simply the lack of guilt or shame, but it is actually quality in itself, and quality that you naturally possess when you first come to this world. Now, how many of us are truly innocent at this age we are right now? Because there are challenges we need to face throughout life that kind of shape our personality and shape our character. Now, we all encounter moments of disappointment, and especially doing this job, my job is to help people and guide them to the light and help them heal, and tell them this is the fastest path that you can get there, right? So when we kind of have this disappointment or loss, or when we turn sour or cynical or angry, oh boy, I know anger, and people lash at me because they don't like what they hear. But you know what? I really think that preparing for the storm and telling people to evacuate is better than telling them to stay and everything will be fine. So for those of you who always want to have everything sugar-coated, I really think that innocence is maybe what you have, but for you this is really damaging. But for those of you who are still able to have the innocence in aspects that can be like very useful to your life, and yet having 2 feet on the ground, that kind of is very important to maintain. Because if you can, in spite of everything that is going on in our life, in tornadoes and tower and hurricanes, of course volcanoes, and I'm not talking about the natural disasters here, I'm talking about disasters in our life, and if we somehow can maintain or even reawaken this innocence, that's absolutely amazing, because that means that maybe possibility the shame or guilt that has covered that innocence is kind of finally released. Because innocence is helping us to actually look at moments with fresh eyes and to heal anything that we really don't like about ourselves, which is the starting point, right? So this is basically telling that you're truly a child of the universe, right? And maybe it's good for a moment to kind of like think through, how did we feel when we were like this, and in which kind of situations we can start experiencing this, and take a long deep breath, and you will see how refreshing this is. It's just like a fresh water after a very long hard day. And this is now coupled, and the noise that you're hearing, that will be Matrix and Safi playing, and it happens all the time. Dawn. So this is going from maybe rediscovering yourself, grounding yourself, not so much grounding yourself, but sort of like cleaning the dust that maybe have fell on, that maybe we kind of like start building, you know, I cannot do that anymore because it is hard. I'm too old, I'm too fat, I am too tired, I'm uneducated. Innocence says, yes, I can. So ask yourself, where are these kind of boundaries that you have created in your life? Because this is calling for you to open up. The Dawn, very similar motives. I was like really kind of surprised when I saw these two cards appearing. It's a very, very strong message to you, Taurus, right? So when we have dawn, it's basically the start of a day that kind of tells us the night has passed, right? And the new day brings new opportunities, no matter what we basically lived the previous day. And it keeps going forward, and it's always something else, and something else we can do. We all heard the stories, well, tomorrow I'm turning a new leaf. Oh, in January I'm going to lose weight, or I will never repeat this mistake again. So, you know, tomorrow is another day, Scarlet. Also, the famous kind of like last words, right? So when we see this, like again, the rays of sun stretching into again the valley, and the sun here peaks around the corner just like it peaks here. It's getting through the clouds, right? It's kind of like set its course to proceed around the bend of the river where it's kind of glistens. So, you know, I don't know how many of you wake up at the dawn without being woken up by a clock. But, you know, when you do wake up early in the morning, it's kind of like without a clock, you kind of really don't know, because you still see the stars. You're kind of like, it's very hard to put the finger on it. Well, did I sleep an hour or 2 or 5? Is it time to get up, or is it time to sleep back? Because the stars are there, right? And the sky kind of does look lighter, but at the same time, you know, it's always the darkest before the dawn, right? But if you're starting to adjust your senses, right, it becomes clear that the light is definitely increasing, and you continue to absorb it, and then all of a sudden you start seeing the sounds and all the freshness, and it's like a beauty in awakening. And if you guys haven't experienced dawn in a long time, even I would advise you to use the clock and set the clock before the dawn, maybe an hour before, so that way you're fully awake. You're going to still miss the experience of that kind of like trying to put yourself space-wise in the situation, but like that purity that you're experiencing is really nice. So dawn obviously means it is time to say goodbye to the old and honor the new by releasing any constraints, just like this card asked, right? And any resistance to the truth that maybe you consider the truth. This is your chance to develop maybe new things, maybe some things that you have already dreamed about, but you said, oh, no, there are like so many different reasons why this cannot happen. Or maybe it's been placed on the back burner. So it is a new day, it's a new beginning. So as the dawn is like coming onto and like being birthed into the life and becomes more visible and real, all these doubts and darkness and uncertainties can actually come back. So you are kind of like disturbing who you are, kind of like the equilibrium that you created. So when you're putting things in motion, things do happen, and it's kind of like certain things kind of almost feeling inevitable. So this is clearly asking of you to wake up. Taurus, wake up. You actually are going to be really rewarded for this, because you have the Hermit card, which in this deck is called aloneness. But this is not a bad thing, because maybe for some of you this speaks, you know, that there is no significant other, or when there is no significant other, that we are feeling lonely. Remember, this is just a part of programming. You do not need to have a significant other. You can enjoy the freedom that solitude brings. even for those of us who maybe are having that significant one, having the solitude in this moment to kind of like go down and kind of like figure out what are the other things that we need to kind of like check. It's also very important. So this card talks about that we need to celebrate the fact that our vision is so strong, that we actually following, you see, this dawn that is happening over here, right? Because this humble figure kind of like almost glows with the light that kind of emanates from within, right? You can see it even around him. It's kind of like, I think that saying, as they say, be a light upon yourself. So ultimately each of us must develop within ourselves. What's up, Savi? And when we develop the capacity to make our way through the darkness without companions, without maps, without guide, we are becoming really, really new person. We are becoming the person we are supposed to be. So guys, this soulmate, twin flame, everything, this is all great. You cannot get there until you're going through this phase, until you're fully comfortable with who you are. You will find people jumping from relationship to relationship, from marriage to marriage, and never amounting to a new happiness. Why? Because the happiness they're looking for is on the outside. 9 is always looking for you looking in the inside. It's the last stage before something else really happens. And you have another 9 over here. And guess what? For you, it's saying, don't forget your Taurus, guys. Don't forget that this gentleman here clearly thinks he got it made, right? So what do we see here? There's somebody who is sitting in an overstuffed chair. He wears his sunglasses, right? He does have umbrella. So this is simply like what? Pina colada, my favorite drink when I'm on the beach. And he doesn't have the energy to get up or do anything because he feels he has done it already. Do you think this card said that? No. This card said, look, 9 is the end of one phase. If you think you made it, you made it in this phase. It is time to get up and go in the next phase, right? So you see what is kind of interesting in this particular card is like that this person didn't yet turn to see the mirror cracking around him. You see this mirror over here? And that's a sure sign that the place, like, I mean, he thinks he's finally arrived, is about to go to shatter and dissolve before his very eyes. So the message of this card brings is like that this poolside resort is not your final destination. Plus we see no pool, right? We see this kind of checkerboard, which kind of talks about the complacency. We also see, I don't know if you can see here, the bird flying, right? Which kind of talks about, wait a minute, what is my final destination? This journey is still not over. So when I see this card, which is generally a good card, 9 of Cups talks about wish come true in the other decks, and I always had the issue with this card. Not that I didn't like it, it just like was weird. Like, this is not a genie, right? I don't find a card, oh look, let me make a wish. Oh yeah, sure, I want to be God. It never worked. So this kind of like interpretation with all these dualities that happen in us when we think we really made it, this is like when we fall into the hole. And this is why it's asking us to wake up, that there is like the entire life is a journey. We actually never arrive to our destination. It keeps reminding us, right, that we have to keep going, right? So be very careful not to be complacent. Be very careful that the sense of achievement has to be the real sense of achievement. We are not talking about the money or anything, but it's also talking to me that it's a time right now to move on. So you can have this like super fuzzy slippers, my favorite color of these slippers over here, but you can enjoy your pina colada, but there are always these open skies in front of you to be explored, right? Also keep in mind that laziness and procrastination is always a negative taste, and I think this drink is really talking about that, right? that when you simply feel that you have no energy, you kind of feel dull, you feel sleepy, you feel dead. That's kind of like that state of non-doing. Whether, like, I mean, you're sitting, relaxing, and explaining to yourself, I just need to take a breather. Like, just think of the moment when you keep doing it, when you're running, when you're exercising. It's kind of like bursting of energy, and that's a positive taste. Overflowing, bubbling energy, communication energy, certainly somebody who is completely aware. So with this card, mind is trying to deceive you. It's trying to rationalize this laziness as saying, yeah, you know what, you just really need your rest, you really need to take care of yourself, treat yourself, right? We all have been there, and we all know how that ended. So this is saying to me, Taurus, life is good for you right now, but the life is asking of you to go higher. From this card, if you can remember this little bird, this bird didn't just make place there just because somebody wanted to sneak it in. It just said that all these perspectives are maybe not real, and they can be shattered at any given point. So guys, it is a time for you to kind of see what else you can develop inside of yourself. It may be something that you had, maybe something you tucked away, maybe just because something is not broken, so not fix it. Nobody's asking this. I'm saying, how about finding what other things, what other rays you had in your life that were so fantastic? What kind of feeling did you have as a child, as a feeling of the positive energy? Is this the same feeling? Because you can only look at these two cards and say it isn't, right? What the child experiencing is like so pure and so free. There is nothing pure about that. And I don't have to tell you which one is true, which one it isn't. So I'm sorry to be a little bit kind of warning, giving you this kind of like stern warning, because the cards are really good. So I just don't want you to fall in the hole of everything is good when now you're meant to go higher, much higher. You're supposed to discover this light. So I mean, in 3 cards we see this light and guidance. So it is time, Taurus, it is time to start moving on, moving forward. So the cards are shuffled, so let's go and check the bottom of the deck here. Oh, let me see, did Safi arrange this camera? I guess she must have, and I'm not sure. Okay, better. Love yourself first. Love yourself first. But what do you love? Do you love your money? Do you love your house? Or do you love who you are? Love yourself first. Your self-respect makes you more romantically attractive. I don't think this is really talking about that. As I said, like I'm going to stop reading this kind of cheesy explanation, because in most of the times it doesn't make any sense. But love yourself first doesn't talk about being selfish. It doesn't say, or just neglect everybody else. It says, you know what? You need to know who you are. Discover who you are and follow your own star. When you have this clear intention, when you have that clarity where you're going and who you are, all things get easy. So you have attraction. Let your friends help you. Finances and career. Very soon. Something very soon happened in the past. So this was asking, and is asking, it's maybe in the last phases of making a decision, where do you want to go? And I guess this is why you have the 9s over here saying, guys, do you know you're going to the next stage? Because if you don't, you're going to get surprised that the next stage moved on you. Express your love. Unrequited love. It's okay. And that again goes back to innocence. Maybe something was really near and dear to you. You didn't get it. We will see the clarification. Yay. Calling in your soulmate. Wedding. It's in your environment. So either attending the wedding, is it talking about your own marriage? Is it talking about the marriage of somebody else? Is it talking about you wanting to get married, because look, you have the 2 times the soulmate thing. And let go of control issues. Okay, so let's see how this plays out. The World reversed. The World reversed is never a really great card, because it is okay situation. You kind of like, let's say one person, you're dating somebody and the person got this like fantastic, amazing offer, maybe in a different country, maybe in a different city, and you're possibly very, very happy for them, but you're very unhappy because this can bring your relationship to the end, because maybe you cannot move for whatever reason, right? So this is saying being stuck in the situation where it is so nice without looking for a workable situation that can maybe bring you to the future. And 5 of Swords reversed talks about some kind of battle that nobody won, some harshness. Somebody maybe thought they won, but maybe there is a person you don't even want to consider, or somebody just doesn't want to consider somebody in their life due to kind of like how things went on. Your finances and career, be careful to overcommit, or be careful not to exercise constraint, because it says financial issues are important. When the Strength card comes reversed, right, it obviously shows about budgeting to me. Be very careful about your budget. Set the strict budget and adhere to it, because this tells me that it can just like kind of like leak out. So in the past is Temperance. You were trying to balance yourself. You were trying to kind of like make the stars align themselves, and this is kind of like, okay, what needs to happen for me to get certain things? It was kind of like a planning, I think, time. This is good. Express your love. And then you have Queen of Chalices. What can be better? If you have somebody in your life, and this person can be a loved one, this person can be somebody you are, you know, interested in, or it can be simply your pet. This is asking of you to kind of like really clearly state it. And Queen of Chalices is the one who has lots of love to give. Look at her cup. You know, the cups are usually, and I don't know if you have any here, not yet. Cups are, see, cups kind of usually round, right? Kind of chalices, right? But look at her cup. It's different. It has different facets, right? And has this kind of like fullness, yet it is closed, because she has to be very discriminating toward where she gives this, because there is a limit. And she loves pets. Queen of Cups loves every living being, and it's kind of like very nurturing. So it's asking of you to kind of go in this phase, and you'll be attracting people like that. So it's really good. And maybe this kind of leads to this unrequited love, because when somebody behaves towards this way, of course, we kind of hear the wedding bells and we hear everything. But keep in mind that this is that quality of innocence that we get attracted to, right? When people get attracted to sexual attributes, to lust, or how the person made you feel, that's not love. That's not love. That's what the Devil card or, you know, codependency card would be. So something got stuck, something did not develop, something, you know, just like felt, gosh, maybe this was a test for me. Maybe, you know, they want to figure out if I learned things already, or if I didn't learn things, and how do I go from here? Some imbalance here. So something that you try to kind of put in order is feeling wrong. Maybe you kind of try to organize certain things and things just didn't work out. It says your prayers, affirmations, so everything that you were actually hoping for kind of like maybe didn't come through, or they are not going to come through, because when Justice comes reversed, it says, this is first of all a karma card, right? So when this card comes, it says that some bad things may happen to you, and maybe unlucky, not necessarily bad, but certainly these kind of things are a test, because the test to you is going to be, why are you doing them and how will you react back? So you can say to somebody, gee, you know, I don't like how you treat me, or you can just lash back. So if you do lash back, this card says at this stage they were wrong up to this point. By this point you accumulated your own karma. So be careful about it, because the lovely thing about this justice card is that justice is always served. And we're not talking about human justice, we are talking about the universal justice. So it's about this wedding. It's some enthusiasm about it. So either attending it or chasing it yourself, because it looks like you're really on the path toward getting your soulmate. You're almost like business-like toward this. You're splurging on yourself, I think, to beautify yourself, and check it out. Yet you have another 9. This is talking about the financial stability, right? This was talking about emotional stability. So very similar is, you know, don't turn a blind eye to certain things, right? So maybe it is also kind of understanding how do you work, because these 3 9s are just telling me you are kind of finalizing one phase, and there are issues in here that are warning. So let go of control issue, there you go. And you kind of are doing this rest, where the oracle card said no, rest is really not the greatest thing. Rest is much different from looking for the answers inside. This is not necessarily a rest. Rest is like this, but we didn't know what this basically was leading to. In fact, the energy and your vibration got much, much lower, where everything else is asking you to move forward. This is asking you on a financial level, on a basically career level, but maybe you're looking for a soulmate in the wrong places, because ultimately you also got to love yourself first. Sort of like kind of like rediscovering the things that really make you tick, because this would tell me selecting your mate based on how financially viable they are. No, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying, well, go for a bum or anything like that, because finances also reflect partially who we are. And I don't say you have to be rich, but if somebody is prudent about their finances, it is a really good quality, and it is certainly a quality that has to be looked in a mate. So maybe you're going to even look into your own stability and how you go about that. So the horoscope signs that prominently come here would be Capricorn, Libra, and Leo. But then again, like in the very core, you have lots of earth sign, which is like some kind of attraction over here. That I told you, like there is something that he keeps coming back. Maybe there is somebody from the past that is kind of like getting attracted, and it's asking of you to kind of like really get a feedback from your friends about that. So I'm just going to go quickly here and see some clarification if you see there is some additional information. Well, see, something in the past truly did develop really quickly. I don't know, can you hear the ice cream truck? Anybody wants an ice cream? So it was a soulmate. Look at this. This is yet 9 tarot coming out. It's the 3rd time. It is something on your mind and you really want to rush toward that. So you are kind of like, I'm wondering if some of you are fine-tuning to your childhood soulmate. If there is something that is going on for many years. Years where maybe you kind of like didn't put yourself in a box because something in the past has been trying to balance the destiny, because the Temperance is the alchemist. Something that couldn't work in the past can work now. So let's see about this purging. That's another karma card. Look at this. You have 2 karma cards. And again, like you have another 5, which kind of is a similar flavor. This is kind of harshness in words, but this is harshness in actions. And sometimes arguing that doesn't accomplish anything, it simply just basically damage that karma. So debating and arguing, there are 2 different things, because debating and arguing and collaborating, there are 3 different things. Because one, debate is like always being a devil's advocate and always kind of speaking the second side of the story, and most of us cannot be on 2 sides at the same time. You cannot be behind the mirror, in front of the mirror to see yourself. So This is asking to really not engage in anything that is not productive. In something, you have to minimize what is important, what is not important. And this is like probably what this card is asking for. Kind of like figure out what are the big things. What are the big things you want to fight for? Really, you see they are fighting over this little mouse. And guess what's going to happen? They're all going to lose. This is also talking about miscommunication. But it's also talking that there will be certain element of luck. So financial luck, mostly, I would say. So let's see about this feeling that you don't want to move on. It was attraction with somebody. You see, it is kind of like a place in time that you have that has already happened for some of you, where you just really don't want to go ahead from it, because this looks like going ahead is not going in the direction where you want. And there are certain things that happen for any reason. Maybe it was the wrong time, right place. But there are issues here that are like basically creating anxiety. This can also talk about issues with insomnia. And this again tells me that you maybe should run some issues by your friends, to trusted friends, because again, somebody has this vision of, oh, look at me, I'm just like so fantastic, not realizing these people who maybe have lost right now are going to keep that feeling inside. And for you, even though it was a temporary win, you might not win in the future, that sort of a thing. So there's some kind of inner issue that you're addressing. So this is High Priestess, is generally, again, it's not exactly the Hermit, but she kind of like contains the knowledge. She's the, I would say, the goddess of the timelines. She kind of knows this universe matrix, how everything is entangled. So if you go on this path, you see we have the same motive, this black and white in her, that we have it here. This is talking about this duality. This is why most of the time we have two parties. This is like we have the day and night, we have the binary system, we have on and off switch. So the symbolism in cards, and like you see, we have the checkers here, but in her tiles are actually colored differently. They're colored purple and pink, because she's kind of experiencing and pulling in things in her heart, right? And you see, there is like a feeling of feeling stuck. You kind of fear certain things. Maybe you don't want to act on something. This is kind of like feeling paralyzed over some issues, or maybe even over unknown. So there'll be lots of communicating this month. And I think communicating is going to be your lesson. This is the test this month for you. Because I see the communication on a passion level, see communication on a verbal level, and then karma saying just be careful how you communicate. Again, communication, and it could be delayed communication. It could be that you express love and then you don't hear it back expressed to you, and then you will feel betrayed because of that. So why is that, Taurus? Why is it that it always have to tick for tack, right? Like, can't we just say, well, you know, Savvy, I love you, or it is you, you're feeding yourself, you're feeding that light within you. So what's the worst thing that can happen? The other can say, and there are people, and I have to say, I have seen it, it's very hard for me to understand, oh, I don't want to lead you on, I have to break up with you because you told me you love me. These people have serious issues, and I get it, maybe they cannot provide you what they want, but expecting the two people are going to develop the same level of feelings at the same time, it's not mature opinion, and you are better off being without this person. So if this comes out, I know it's going to stink, but just move on. You have seen this person and check out. So what was about this? Something didn't move on, something felt either unhappy, or you know, maybe you're trying to present a happy face where you don't really feel happy, where you maybe feel that other people are getting and you are getting, and hence, you know, you resort down to, okay, you know, let me just pretend that I'm happy. This is good. For some of you, maybe you are coming from a harsh period where you had to take care of yourself and your own finances and kind of like figure out how to actually even work it out. Building walls is basically a knee-jerk reaction to the situation when we are hurt. So it is a plus to protect us, right? It's like putting a band-aid on a wound, but at the same time, that wound is not going to heal as quick when it's exposed to all these elements. So I think on some level you're realizing that certain things are unproductive and that you have to re-engage, because this is saying, look, I'm just not going to be on my own. I'm going to kind of reconsider how can I resurface, because the fours are also telling me a story here. So what's about this imbalance? For some of you, it could have been the third person. For some of you, it could be, how is that possible that a person is willing to give so much pain to another human being? Why would somebody do that? First of all, why is not a good question in love. And for that, it would take years and years of therapy if you need to know why before moving on. The best way to go about this is, how does it feel? Do I feel this hurt? Do I feel my heart is pierced? Do I feel its rejection? Do I feel unrequited love? And do I feel I need to fight for this person? Do you really think, this child over here is fighting for the appreciation and love from this boy? No, this is not a natural feeling. So some of you are like really almost angry. Some of you have self-pity about, how did they get away and they moved on, I didn't move on. This is however asking you to reassess. Do you want to stay where you are? Do you want to continue in the same direction, or do you not want to continue in the same direction? The truth is, just because 1, 2, 10, 20 1,000 people rejected you, 1,000 people did something, sure, you have to see what you can fix within yourself, which is happening this month, and see, well, maybe you're having something inside of you that needs to be resolved. Maybe you are trying to get a certain type. Maybe you're trying to get a certain package. But maybe you're going to reassess it a little bit differently and see how do you position it, and not to try to strike back. And maybe not to try to win them over anymore. There it is, moving on. Somebody's moving on. It is your environment. Holy smoke. It looks like you guys are going to really, really love yourself first. Maybe somebody you're with has been married. Somebody married who was chasing you when they felt like chasing you, but then they just decided to move on. Maybe a huge argument ensued after that. Maybe you did something to them, they did something back to you, and it kind of like kept going back and forth. Hence it created negative karma on both ends. And it's possible that both people are feeling wrong here. And I am not even going to go into this, who is right, who is wrong, because we did get this answer. Justice will be served. For you to sit around and wait for this justice to be served because this is the only time and you can move on, is telling me that you're not doing your homework. You need to go deep inside of you, not outside of you. Because here is saying, look guys, what happened. Maybe this person has been married. Maybe this person has been with somebody. But you have learned something. The Tower card definitely means a big shakedown. It also talks about epiphany. It talks about, wait a minute, certain things haven't been built properly. And this is why it's collapsing, right? Maybe I need to build in better security. And you tried it by actually building walls. Well, that didn't work because, yeah, you get to enjoy things on your own, but ultimately, where are the other people around you? So here it's saying, look, let's kind of like try to go and see with my interest and see if I just follow what I truly like to do. I personally like photography. It's a kind of very lonely I guess, activity. And I thought it would be no way that I'm going to meet somebody that way. But guess what? You go to a park, you see other photographers. You go to a school, you meet others. And it's just like really amazing. When you truly love something, you have so many things to talk about. And this is telling me it's going to be something work related or something hobby related. Something that is like really important to you. This card talks about juggling. So I don't know who is juggling here. Maybe you're still kind of like debating between being single or being in that kind of like situation where somebody's juggling. And look, you have the third karma card. Oh my gosh, we just didn't have the Ace of Swords. So Judgment is again talking about things from the past. Things come from the past where we hope and aspire to be something better, when we need to resurrect ourselves to a better selves. Just like in the beginning of the life, we are given this coding. This is the way it's supposed to be. And then we shave that coding with a whole bunch of different things. Our parents tell us what we need to do, and they tell us only what they know. They might be well intended, but you know, they might not know the universal truth. It's not possible to expect of the people to know all the aspects of the story. They settle you up with what they are doing. So your father is Republican, you end up being Republican. Your mother is Democrat, you end up being Democrat. So this is asking you to kind of like one more time bring everything from the past on the plate and kind of figure out really what works for you, what doesn't, and just smile at it and go and recover that innocence that you have lost. There is like bigger story here, and the bigger story here it is saying is it is about the feeling of what is right and what is wrong, the very feeling you felt a little violated on. And it kind of like, it's interesting that we all talk about karma, but we only see the karma that comes to us. And how about the karma that we give out? We don't count things when we lash out. So keep in mind that you can do your own part on here. It's actually pretty good. You will be learning lots of words. You really have to watch, and this is the only thing I have to tell you, you have to watch how you react. If you react on the lazy side, or if you kind of like withdraw, it's not going to be a good reaction. Or if you lash out, it's not going to be a good reaction, and that reaction is going to cost you. If you, however, kind of stand back and you guys have that ability to kind of think through it, then it might be okay. Because look, Six of Cups again tells me there is like some kind of childlike innocence, being stuck in nostalgia. And there you go, look, the very last card is a repeat. That's the wish card, guys. Okay, so why is this repeating? And it is on let go of control issues. So that's your next level, guys. Oh my gosh, that's why it is. Because let go of control issues is, wow, Taurus, right? Hello, I don't have to really go further in explaining that. And it's either your way or the highway. And look, you kind of maybe, you know, a bull in a china shop happened, but you don't mean it in a harm way when it happens, and maybe you're not even aware of that, because fixed signs, we fixed signs tend to actually be that way. And it is a minus, but it's also a plus, because when we kind of like set our target toward the goal, we don't doubt it too much. So it can be a plus and a minus. So this is asking you, because you're the only person who can shift it. You're the only person who has the access to your own software, to your own programming. So this is a virus, guys. This is a virus. Get rid of this virus. Because the moment when you do, the system starts to function. That's what this is saying. Okay, so the next part is going to be, which one? Lenormand? I guess Lenormand. Let's do the Lenormand is next. Lenormand is going to give me a general overview of where you are, how you are doing, and kind of like what you need to watch in terms of like lay of the land. Right, so as you can see the mountain like this, kind of oracle cards are like I'm envisioned from the top. Like this is where you can aspire. You can actually have this new beginning. You have to look inside of yourself and beware not to be overly satisfied, because things cannot and may not last forever. So then we go to tarot, which is kind of like, okay, so this is like a little bit kind of like also spiritual lessons, but with a touch of practicality. This is like what we see, and I'm already seeing people down there, right? Then we are going to go to Lenormand, which is like somewhere here, like we are really seeing what is going on and which people interact. And then we're going to go down to nitty-gritty, who is elbowing who and why, etc. So I will not make you wait until I put all entire grand tableau on the table. So I'm going to click in as soon as I position all the cards. So for you, it's going to be by the magic of YouTube a second, and for me, it's going to be a few minutes. See you soon. Hi guys, you can see that I live in the northern hemisphere. Look at how much lower is the sun, because when it's high up in the sky in the middle of the summer, right, like I mean the sun cuts here, right? The more that the winter arrives, you see it more on a table. It's kind of really beautiful manifestation of that the earth is not flat. So Lenormand, we have two significators. We have the lady and we have the gentleman. It's kind of interesting. They're actually coming out in basically the last 4 cards of the spread. They're not looking at each other. One is looking at the problems. One is looking at the finances. Remember, we had this like 9 of Pentacles over there, and there are crossroads, which you had a crossroads there as well. So either of them can be you. You don't have to necessarily identify with female if you're female. Also, both of them can be you, and one of them can be you, one of them can be a person of interest. I'm going to just give you a general kind of read over here, and this is finally a little bit more fun, and we're kind of like going to nitty-gritty. So check it out. My nitty-gritty readings kind of like they go to these levels, and I use Lenormand, and for the fly of the wall I'll use both Lenormand and gypsy cards. Also guys, before we get to the end, please, your comments are highly valued. I don't know if you realize I'm reading all your comments. I don't have this much time to reply to all of you, but I do acknowledge you by actually putting a like on it, and so that really means a lot to me. And if you are not a subscriber already, please do subscribe, because soon, next month, actually I'll be putting this stuff on Vimeo, and I really hope that we can kind of like have a collaboration there as well. So let's go back to Taurus, because Taurus, you guys are going to have such a good month that I literally have to shake you down and scare you off from the things not to do, because my gosh, I'm putting you in a Ferrari and I'm telling you, guys, do not drive too much. You're going to smash yourself against the wall. Just make sure you have the air in the tires. Make sure you have enough gas. And that's why I'm warning you, because otherwise such a beautiful trip that you may have might not kind of like end. In you, there is something that is happening that is kind of like shifting. And that's what we saw there. You're shifting, and you're shifting to something much nicer. It's going to be a little bit maybe out of your own element, because you do like comfort, you like finances, its security is really important to you. However, I'm seeing this is kind of like going into something else. You see, some of you are really into security. The bear generally talks about something really big coming financially, and this bear is in a karma house, and then we have this karma on the corners. So it's going to be some kind of you build lots of communication, just like what we saw in tarot. You might even go on a trip. You will be a really loyal friend. For those of you who have businesses, these businesses will do very well. Don't forget the marketing for the business. Campaign is going to work really well at a time. So what do we see here as a center issue? Do you actually have some legal issues? Because that justice reverse there could also mean divorce. But I see here there are some issues regarding maybe that marriage that was there. Maybe the tower could mean a divorce there as well, because now I see the clouds in the tower. Some clouds are clouding over legalities in the heart, and something is dying. Something, the happiness on some level for either of these significators would end up that way. So trajectory from this point on, right, you see this commitment is ending, and there are these secrets here as well. Some still lots of nagging issues that happen. So some of you are still feeling and falling back onto, well, I'm okay financially. kind of like, but you see, again, look at this. The child is knighting this gentleman, and we have the sun here. So it's a crossroads. So you see the crossroads are going this way. So it's going to be a new path. The book is kind of interesting. It certainly talks about education and knowledge and understanding things better, kind of like expanding yourself to new hobbies, to new horizons. But you see this kind of like spine of the book is on this side. So the secrets open on this side. So it's certain things are we're still blocked of certain things. So we still have to kind of open up. So there is the whip. We kind of like, it's almost like forced to kind of open up, and it could be obtaining a new financial skill. It could be hiring a financial planner. But the child generally tells me that there is something from the past, again, coming to the surface. It can go back to this card that we had, that we kind of like have to kind of like re-go back to the innocence and see which kind of projects we did put on the back burner and try to communicate about them as well. The whip is an interesting card because whip, yeah, it kind of like is a negative card in this deck, but maybe it's kind of like falling into some kind of complacency, because look, it goes from the whip to rider and to stork. And the stork can also mean a new child. It could mean that you'll get pregnant. It could mean promotion. And most likely, it seems to me, there is a new direction, because if you look at this trajectory over here, look at this, we have the crossroads, and it's going to be weird because it's not going to be safe area that you're used to. Maybe you had a safe job and, you know, like, I mean, committed to this, etc., and then maybe something happens. So in this trajectory here, okay, well, you know what, I'm willing to go into unknown. It's a completely new start, and it actually is going to result with something really, really good. For those of you who are maybe dating or obtaining advanced degrees, it could mean actually meeting somebody who is in that position for a romance. And toward the winter, in the next few months, this is like what is in the cards. It kind of like, really, you see, kind of, it's weird. Like, you have been maybe almost like forcefully trying to meet somebody who is well off, and then you have been meeting all these people who are, well, jerks, right? And then instead of like just realizing that you have to sign off on them and it is just like not good enough for you, you kind of like maybe put up with this. And now it looks like you're actually going to go into unknown, and things like that are just going to fall in your life, because you're kind of like going to shed the light and get clarity from the inside here. And this is again talking about your own thing, about the self-protectiveness, managing your own finances. Be careful. You had the remember strength card, so overspending, beware of that. Or it could be that children will need some extra money, and some of you actually may relocate as well by the winter. That's kind of like in the cards as well. So as I said, I do see something is kind of like ending, or maybe attachment to the past issues, because you see this is a 9 thing, and it kind of looks like that some of you are really in a good space right now, and that's why you're going like, what the heck is she talking about? I'm so good. Well, did you ever have a day that you were like so amazed about the day and it's sunshine and everything was like perfect, right? We're just like this person here, let's today take it off and go enjoy the birds and everything. And the next day, just the hell breaks loose, and you're like, how is this even possible, that there is not even a gradation? So that's all I'm saying. The storm can come out of nowhere because there are clouds over here, and the clouds are dealing with some kind of Taurus. Remember, we're still in the Mercury shadow, so there are still certain things that kind of like can come back to the surface, receipts, bills, because I see the financial communication. There will be inquiries. Somebody will make you jump up and do something, and it could be some issues about the children, especially if you're divorcing. About the children, they will have more influence in the situation that you think. Okay, guys, and before I get into the gypsy, to give you a little bit more about the emotional storyline, like this is now this segment where you can ask a question, and you don't have to be a Taurus to ask this question. Actually, this is okay for cross watchers or anybody who is asking this question. Only thing I ask you not to ask the same questions all the time, because what happens then, the cards are not effective on you. Just like this is asking a doctor all the time to get a pill for the same disease, and all the time a different pill. So once when you get the answer, you have to kind of let this absorb, and once when you get the message and sort of like what is prescription, you have to try to apply for a while to see if it works. So did you ask your questions? So let's see where we go with this. This is a door number 1, door number 2, and door number 3. For those of you who asked the question and chose this group of cards, so this is the answer. We have 3 of Earth, and we have the Wheel reversed. For this particular question, it could be a third person that is affecting the situation. It could be that it's required enormous teamwork. It could be there is a person who is continuously messing up, that you feel that you align things, that you're arranging things, and then somebody comes and just spoils everything. So I would say here that looks like no amount of planning and no amount of foresight can really result, and things can actually turn kind of like counterintuitive over here. The Wheel is one of these karma cards again, so it's asking you to be really careful how you react. Most likely it's not going to be a very positive outcome, or it can be a very negative outcome that kind of turns positive and go back to negative. So kind of like very very fickle kind of situation. For the door number 2, I'm using this I don't think this is called Mystic Cat Tarot. I think this is Egyptian cats. And for those of you here, you have 8 of Cups. So what is possessing a person who feels they're actually having fulfillment to walk away? So they're actually probably realizing that maybe they were trained to look for something else, maybe they're high achievers, or maybe that what they have was not really exactly fulfillment, or maybe because it's 8, they're kind of peeking around, because you see he's also walking in the light. Where can he go? And who is his true companion to go with him? So somebody might be walking away here, guys. Walking away from you, or you walking away from somebody. This doesn't mean this person cannot come back or might not come back. When we walk away, we do come back. But it looks like at this stage, kind of like this kind of like would be the answer. And lastly, the door number 3, you have Knight of Pentacles. It's a test, guys. Remember your tarot readings? So here we have it repeat. Something might not move fast, but you're Taurus. This is the Capricorn energy. Yeah, it is a slower energy than yours, because out of earth signs that are all moving slow, like Capricorn is moving the slowest. As you can see, that's not really exactly moving, and that's why you see this like face on this kitty. Imagine this kitty being an Aquarius, like, what the heck is going on? Are we moving or not? And this is why the Knight of Pentacles is a test. It's always asking us, are you sure? Because I'll give it to you. Beware what you wish for. So guys, yes, things will be starting to develop over here. So in a few seconds, I'm going to see you with the full grand tableau for Gypsy, and this is the only place where you can see it, and you'll be seeing it in the Vimeo next month. As I said, for those of you who'll be able to pay a couple of dollars, I don't want to charge too much, it will be just so great, because the energy will be so much better to actually focus on it. So I'm going to probably have a short version, 5 to 10 minutes intro, so you can kind of like see if you really want to bother with my Vimeo. But I hope you know, you can support that initiative. So it at least is going to pay some of my time, and that kind of like would make sense, because remember, one of the tarot cards is like 6 of Pentacles, which talks about give and take, has to be in balance. So give me a second to come back with this grand tableau. All right, guys, so here we are. Let me try to move this out. There you go. So you have a bigger lay of the land. Maybe you have to move this camera a little bit higher. So how is grand tableau working? We have people here, right? Because we live in a world of people. Even though this month you're kind of being asked to kind of like really look deep inside of yourself. But let's see where this takes us. So let me just first of all explain to you, even though you've probably seen it before, we have a few significators here. So we have the Lover over here, this card over here, which kind of talks about a guy who is looking, right? He's inverse, so he's not really sure if he's looking. Each of the significators can be you, whether you have children or not children, because the wife is portrayed as a person with children, but you don't have to have children. You might feel, I really want to marry, this is my kind of like fulfillment in life. So you might identify with this particular card. I'm going to give you different situations, right? Then we have this guy over here that's called Lord. Gran Signore usually represents a person who is either a professional. We had over there a doctor, a lawyer, some kind of professional in Leatherman. So that's kind of like would be equivalent here. He's also here right next to the wedding card. So I would actually say that there's somebody committed over here, a guy. It can be also committed woman as well. And we have Sweetheart, which can be just also for all of us, kind of like when we are looking. And I think there's here in this cards talking about reading a letter, but each time I see that, it kind of reminds me of my phone, also because I have the white kind of like envelope like cover. And it is somebody who is like, guess what, innocent and sweet. And when we see this, when I see the yellow, it's the sunny glow, and this is you guys. It kind of like would be something flourishing. So it's a really nice kind of like uplifting thing. And you know how we all are on honeymoon when we start dating somebody. They're so fantastic. We hear the wedding bells. Remember the Bridget Jones initial sequence when the guy just like walks in and she hears na 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 na. The thing is like, it just goes down from that point, right? Because we have to love somebody on a kind of like really ground level, not on the kind of like mountain high level. And that's where kind of like where the real love sustains, if we kind of manage to do that. So 2 guys and 2 women, and there are some other ones. The friend can be a significator, and then we have a foe and enemy. And where are they? There is an enemy card, which can be a rival, male rival. This can be a female rival. So let me tell you different things that I see here, and you see how you relate. Well, certain things are not progressing for some of you, because this can include lots of storylines for lots of different people. Look at how many people I have around. So it can talk about any one of you and situations, hence I'm trying to focus onto the important thing. So, those of you who are committed, see, there is thinking about the finances here as well, just like you had on the other ends. Maybe you'll be meeting with your banker, you'll be meeting with your financial consultant, and kind of like putting things in motion over here. Maybe some of you will be preparing the wills. Maybe some of you will be realizing that maybe the way how you went about things, maybe you were too giving. You're going to stop doing that. You're going to kind of like see what works, what doesn't work, think through things. There's going to be lots of conversation about that. But also talk about some kind of intimacy, because I see here that some of you may have some issues or involvement with somebody who has been married, and now this keeps repeating, right? And it could be going through divorce, or it could be going through redefining commitment. Some of you may be going through counseling. Some of you may be wondering why you're not in love anymore, and kind of like feeling that innocence of love, right? So you kind of like have to go through this stage that is asking of you kind of like, hey, figure it out. Is this just a normal stage of life? Or do you really want to feel like a teenager? Well, if you're now 35, 45 years old, teenager is not a normal thing to feel or even to expect. So never mind their feed us on television with the kind of stuff, but that's not how reality works. So don't go down letting go somebody really good for you if that's the case. But then some of you may feel kind of like very melancholic, and it looks like maybe you had some ideals that kind of like maybe were not the ideals. Like you had a vision of how the life works, just like what we saw it over there, and now you're kind of waking up from this darkness, and the new day is coming, the new beginning is coming, because you're shedding this falseness and you're shedding expectations of something just be given to you, or something has to be done a certain way. You kind of, some of you are redefining. Definitely, if you identify with this wife person here, you're redefining who your friends are. You had it over there, let your friends help you. You have it here. Some of you are divorcing because there was a third person. Some of you are putting an end to it and feeling like that you have been stolen something. So again, remember this karma. You feeling this way, you're creating negativity for yourself. It's going in your core. This is not how you feel in childhood. Remember, like we sort of like in the waters of the duck's back. As a child, you kind of get angry, stop being angry, just like that. When we grow up, we hold these grudges for days, years, centuries, right? So you see, this person here is going through a range of emotions. So she is moving on, but in a very unhappy, almost forced way, where there are lots of counseling and feeling unattractive, feeling very jealous and resentful, right, about her spouse or her partner becoming single, right, and kind of almost like, you see, the prison card means, well, somebody's not in prison anymore. Kind of feeling all you have left me with all obligations, with kids and with bills, and like it's kind of like this fundamental questions that we all have. How could you have done this to me? But people do, and why is never a good situation to go, right? Now, some of you may, in spite of all of these situations that you see here, somebody betrayed you with money, or some bill came through that you didn't like, you felt being robbed by another person that interfered in your life. It could be that you have a child and you felt like, how did that person not understand that you have this unity and it was more than just their own pleasure? And hence there is like this feeling of, well, I need to have a doctor, I need to feel happy. You see, this is not a flick button kind of thing, and we kind of like go to a doctor to buy a mood. Be very careful of that. There is a reason why we feel certain emotions, and whether it's good or bad, it kind of takes us to this different kind of place. And this is your crossroad thing. How will you define yourself? Are you going to go and continue blaming this person? Or are you going to kind of build yourself in a person who is going to be able to deflect and understand that at any given point people can pull the rug under your feet? So you just have to be more solid, more fit, more ready, that you don't kind of like really crash. Your friends will be very, very important in this time. So for some of you, you might meet somebody who is going through something, who is on and off with maybe some other person, and who comes across as having some kind of secrets. Or maybe some of you have somebody who is a long distance that you are hoping to reunite with, that you're hoping to be with. So there will be lots of communication, but it's going to be a lot of ups and downs, because look at this, you have misfortune and fortune right next to each other. So they kind of, I have a feeling that some of you who might be starting to date, you'll meet a guy who didn't clean their past, who still have the issues, who might even have be going through a court proceedings, and or maybe even not paying child support, guys. And imagine this, that there is somebody who doesn't pay child support, and they're not even there. That's pretty much as low as you can fall as a person, and not to worry and kind of like feel that somebody else has to do it for you. It's just like each of us have to take care for the things that we invented. And if you bring a child or a pet to this planet, then it is really, really your obligation to do that. So be very careful. Look at these little things if people start complaining about their ex, because I have a feeling this could be happening over here. And this thief, I don't think it's going to be a theft in a physical sense. Where is the gift? Actually, if you guys going to divorce, don't sign anything without really looking at the documentation. It's asking you to have actually thoughts through it, or even hire a lawyer, I would say, because you might, the thief suggests there's something hidden, and here we have something hidden. So somebody might be taking a fast one on you. However, if you kind of consult somebody, it looks like you are going to get what is rightfully yours. So guys, I think this is in summary, because what you actually end up having and doing is consolation. You end up kind of going through this and kind of like dawn, right? Like one by little light keeps opening. So you see the death, you see how everything is like heavy down here, and then it all of a sudden starts being light, because you are guys coming to consolation, some of you. The others are going into this joyfulness, allegrezza, which is the happiest card in the deck. The third of them eventually, well, this married guy who kind of like had been going through conversations or something, he kind of, or committed guy, he's not going to actually do well, this particular character, because it's going to be karma, like rubber meets the road in this case, because looks like he kind of pulled something that is going to come back, and it's literally going to come back to him exactly the same way. He'll be lied to and schooled about something. So for the others of you, you really need to renegotiate what you maybe have, what you maybe thought it's already working, because some of you may be waiting for the settlement that is like not arriving. So before you sign anything, as I said, kind of like rely upon your friends, rely upon professionals, and if you need to get counseling, please do, because dealing with a third party is hard, and the worst case scenario is like blaming yourself. And the truth is, like, I mean, trying to get to this happiness, which you will, this person here has to kind of like come clean. This person here is going to have the hardest hit on about this, kind of looking into the kind of deep things, because I see heaviness around this person. I see something from the past and some kind of loyalty, trying to kind of like reunite with someone, try to be committed with someone, intimate with someone, and yet feeling so guarded in the end, right? It's a kind of sad feeling, because look, maybe you know, somebody was waiting for somebody to free themselves from the marriage, and maybe they did. But the moment that they did, they kind of like realize also what they're losing, right? And there was a despair, it was a lack of self-esteem. Oh my gosh, the children are not with me. And yeah, the positive part was like reuniting with you, but the negative part was like the despair kind of a feeling. And oh my gosh, did they lose? What did they lose? So it's why I always say, you see, where is my loyalty? And do I have to be on guard? It is kind of like when you, instead of a shirt, you kind of tear the shirts. It's not the same anymore. It's redefining who you are. So this is why it's never good to date a married guy or committed guy or woman, or not even somebody who's separated. Just simply, if you're dating, if you're online dating, guys, be careful of the lies that people tell you. So if they say single, just triple check, double check. Are they calling you in the weekends, on the weekends at night? Are they just disappear with the texts? Kind of that kind of stuff. And if they are not, delete their number. Do not communicate with them. Sure, it's weird because he's so perfect, right? But remember, we are all representing ourselves the best we can. Now, this married guy here, who's not going to do well so much with his lover, he's going to do okay with financial stuff. So this is kind of like going to be a sense of accomplishment for all of you, but it's going to be a sense to where I'm going. Where do I go from here? It's the ledge, and do I spread my wings and fly, or you know, what do I do? You just have to remember that the answers are already within you. There's like the innocence that if you meditate, if you pray, whatever is your way of connecting is the right way, and the answers will come. When these answers come, you guys are just set on the trajectory of a new beginning, and it's a lovely one. So my dear Taurus, my apologies for taking this long to be come up with this, but as you can see how much time this takes, so we are going to do it differently next month around. Until then, enjoy our September. Your comments, I hope to get some. I love you, and please subscribe and like and join my Facebook. All the best. Just so you know, I was just about to save this and prepare it, and look who decided to be Taurus right now. Look at this. Look at this. Hi, Shafi. You like Taurus? Huh? You want to be left alone to sleep? Huh? Are you tickly? Tickly? So anyway, guys, this is okay for a while, but remember, like, it is a time for the new beginnings. Alright, Taurus? Love you. Shafi, say hi. She's too tired for this. Love you, Taurus.